Warning: some contents may be disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Story by u/emergency ad 6949. When I was in high school, I was like 16. I had a friend named Lisa and a second friend named Zoe. Lisa had like a lot of money, and her huge house was located right next to our high school. So, every time we had a break or anything, the three of us would go there, and we would also have a lot of sleepovers at her house. It was this huge rich people house, so it was awesome to stay there. So one day, we decided to stay the night there, the three of us, plus Lisa's little sister Anna, and their mother was gone for the night. We decided to put on some pajamas and watch scary movies for hours. Anna went to bed before us three, and we just stayed in the living room watching TV. At one point, the alarm goes on. It happens sometimes, so Lisa just go turn it off and that was it. But then, like 10 minutes later, the alarm goes on again, and it scared us because it's not supposed to. Technically, the alarm was made to ring only when humans come by, because the house was located in the middle of the forest, so we all knew that sometimes animals would come by the house, which actually happened before. So when the alarm was installed, it was calibrated for humans only, and it was the second time it rang. We started to get a little bit scared, so we went upstairs, opened the windows to look at the garden all around the house, and nothing. We even went back on the balcony in the middle of the night, but nothing. I was alone on the balcony at some point, and the alarm went on again, and the automatic lights around the swimming pool turned on. That meant something was around the pool, and I was just above it. I got so scared, I got on my knees and stayed there until my friend deactivated the alarm and the lights, and then I ran inside the house. At this point, we were really scared and started thinking about what it could be. If it has to be any human, all our lights were on, so they knew where we were. We turned all the lights off, and all four of us went hiding downstairs in the kitchen without our phones. I don't even know why not even one of us thought about taking at least one phone. So we were there, lights off, scared in a huge house, with windows everywhere we could look. The alarm went berserk again. Anna screamed. Lisa took her with her, reassuring her while walking to shut the alarm off, like turn it off once and for all. So I was in the kitchen with Zoe only, and we were just looking all around us. At some point, we heard footsteps right beside us, like right on the other side of the wall in the garden. It was fast, not scared, just fast, like that person knew where they were going. So we just freezed, waiting in the dark, and jumped when someone, it was obvious, walked by the door or window right in front of us. He had a light, but it was another light that allowed us to see a silhouette. So there were at least two running around the house for about at least 20 to 30 minutes. A little detail, like I said, the door was a window door, but there were blinds on it, and of course, they were not closed. We were still not moving, and the girls upstairs were so scared that they stayed there. At least, it's what they told us. Suddenly, one voice, then a second one. I wasn't able to understand anything, but I heard it. And Zoe and I were blinded by a sudden light right at our faces. We were literally not able to move, scream, talk. Not anything we could have done was possible. We were just frozen in fear. The light stayed there. Someone was seeing us through the blinds. Someone was watching us being scared and was just staying there. Suddenly, we heard a hard sound on the front door, which was closed, and Zoe didn't move at all, but I don't know what took me. It just woke me up, and I crawled to the door in front of me. I closed the blinds and just hold the door in place in case the guy on the other side tried to force it open. Honestly, I'm small and thin, but my little body was useless there. But I did it anyway. The one at the front door was still trying to enter, Zoe still not moving, and the two girls upstairs doing I don't know what. And the one, just a glass window away from me, started hitting it. He was trying to force it. It was closed, but I just grabbed the handle and hanged in there for a while, and he was just hitting and trying to open the door. All of this lasted hours in my head, but I believe it was only a few seconds. And at one point, the hits at the front of the door stopped, and a few seconds later, the other one in front of me stopped as well. Then the lights just moved fast everywhere. The alarm did nothing, so it was disabled as wanted, and there was nothing. Zoe and I slept in the kitchen, and the two sisters upstairs, and nothing happened at all, and it was over. The next day, Lisa and Anna's mom came back home, and we told her everything. We got a bit yelled at because we didn't call the cops. I took it wrong at that time, but I understand now and why she got upset. She called the cops, who went to see the house and just discovered footsteps all around the house, some muddy footprint or mark on the front door, and that was it. They told us it must have been some guys who were just doing some recognition, when they just walk around the houses to see how to rob it. It was really common in this area, and there was a lot of really big and beautiful houses filled with expensive things. The only thing I will never be able to explain is why they started being so aggressive. Originally, they were just walking around the house, but I think that if they were trying to see something or just looking things up, they would have left it when they realized that we were inside, or at least left when that guy saw us in the kitchen. Well, they didn't. The moment that they saw us in the kitchen, they started being aggressive and trying to force the doors to enter the house where we were. I don't know if they really wanted to rob the house. I will never. And honestly, I don't want to know. I didn't spend any more nights at this house. I got so scared that they will come back again that I couldn't sleep there. Lisa got a bit mad, like she didn't understand, but from what she told Zoe and I, she didn't see them, and she just stayed upstairs with her sister. Story by you/gottacatchmall. It's great to see that Uber now warns users to always check the license plate before getting into a car. But my story happened about a year before that was put in place. A few friends and I were spending New Year's Eve at a house party. The New Year hit, the party was winding down, and my friend ordered an Uber. Mind you, all four of my companions were some combination of pissed drunk or baked out of their minds, and I was decently buzzed, but by far the most sober of the group, and assumed the role of mom friend by corralling the group to the street to wait for the car. It was freezing, pitch black, and the streets were completely empty. A car pulled up and my friend announced that it was our Uber, so everyone started to make their way over. Now, out of nowhere, I got this sick feeling in my gut. My lizard brain kicks into overdrive and tells me to get the hell away from that car. And that's when I realized the car was missing an Uber sticker. Since my friend was too drunk to care, I grabbed her phone to check the license plate. This wasn't our Uber. I realized this at the same moment that my friend walked to the driver's side of the window to ask if this was the Uber for Sarah. And he told her that he was. I yelled to her that this was the wrong car, but she was too gone to care. "But he says he's our driver," she slurred. I channeled my inner camp counselor and yelled to her that this was not our driver and that the car had the wrong license plate. Instead of walking away from the car, she asked him why the license plate was different if he was here for Sarah. And I shit you not, this weirdo tells her that he put the wrong license plate on the car this morning, and she was so drunk that she believed him and almost opened the door to get inside. I yell at her to get the hell away from the car right now because that is not our driver. Finally, she starts to walk away, but the driver grabs her arm and tries to force her in. The next friend to Sarah pulls her away, but the guy looked visibly unhinged at this point and ordered her to get in the car. The first thing that I could think to do was to take my phone out, start filming the car and yell, "Hey, I'm filming you." This got his attention, and he was down the street before I could say another word, and not a second later, our real Uber pulls up. We were all spooked, but they were drunk, tired, and ready to let it go to keep the good vibe going. And all I could think of was some drunk girl leaving a party alone and forgetting to check the license plate. So, as the only one who wanted to do something, and also the only one under 21, I decided to call the cops. Not great in hindsight, but I'd rather get busted for being just shy of 21 and kind of buzzed than let someone get possibly kidnapped and whatever else. It all turned out just fine, and they caught the guy before he could find another victim. But we never found out what his motive was or what happened after that. The best part of the entire ordeal, though, was the one guy in our group and his reaction. I've known him since kindergarten, and he's one of the smartest people I know. But he was so cross-faded that he actually believed that the guy was just a nice dude trying to help us out. He tried to convince me not to call the cops because it would only ruin the guy's night, and it was New Year, so he should have fun. And he still vehemently denies that this ever happened. In conclusion, always check your Uber's license plate. Story by you/Baphometaphor. Please excuse any mistakes or if this isn't clear. I'm stressed out and emotionally, mentally, physically exhausted from the stress of my husband needing emergency surgery, and words are kinda hard right now. This happened minutes ago. It's 2:16 a.m., and it is worth noting that I am a very small woman, just over 5 foot and about 120 pounds. It's also worth noting, people frequently think that I'm in my teens, despite being much older than that. My husband, P, is in the ER right now, waiting to be transferred to a hospital. He called me and asked if I could pick him up, as they didn't know when his room would be available. I parked my car out front of our house in the street. No driveway nor garages in this neighborhood, so I just walked out with my purse and keys and got in and then realized, oh, I forgot P's cigarettes. I bet he'll want them. So I locked the car and went in to grab them. Upon returning to my car, I saw a light coming up the street towards me, kind of slowly, and got this immediate thought of, get in and lock the door and don't move. So I did just that, a car with one headlight pulls up so slowly next to me that I thought they would stop and try to talk to me, sending me into a mild suspicion. I saw the silhouette of a driver turn to look as they crept past me. They very slowly made a right turn, and my gut said, "Do not move." So I stayed, and as they pulled away, I noticed that they had no license plates. Seconds later, they had circled the block and came to a slow crawl up behind me again and stopped at the stop sign. I am a corner house, and the stop sign is behind where my car is parked. They stayed there for a few seconds and then went straight. I still didn't move. Something felt sketchy. They then turned around in the cul-de-sac and stopped at the stop sign that faces the one behind me. They continued to sit there, and I could see them staring at my car, but still, I couldn't see their face, just a silhouette. I decided to call my husband, and he, sounding much more awake now, told me to get out and run, get in the house and lock the deadbolt, and get the pistol. I started to open my driver's side door, and the car pulled forward a little faster than before. I pulled the door closed and locked again and told P what happened. He told me not to hang up and to get my ass in that house stat. I climbed over the console and got out of the passenger side door, and then I ran up to the door, fumbling my keys in the lock, but I managed to get it open. The car with the missing headlight was creeping ever so gingerly toward my house, but I got inside and locked the door. I looked out the window to the side of the door and saw them speed out of there. They didn't come back as far as I could tell, but I had the curtains drawn, so I'm not positive. I got the feeling that they were waiting for me to drive away so that they could break in. Or maybe so they could follow me? Or perhaps I'm just paranoid and they were just lost. But my gut feels that they weren't innocently looking for something. Story by you/sadboonana. So this happened about 13 years ago. I was 10 at that time, my brother was 8, and we had just moved to a new town that year. And the Walmart here had this sweet arcade up near the service desk. So every time my parents would bring us grocery shopping, they'd give us each a few dollars and let us play in the arcade. The town had an incredibly low crime rate, and the arcade is at the front of the store where dozens of people are checking out. So what could possibly go wrong? My brother is playing the claw machine while I'm standing on the side of the machine, trying to help him angle a claw perfectly above a stuffed animal that he's trying to get. But suddenly, this random hillbilly walks up to the claw machine next to us, inserts a quarter, and begins moving the claw around. But for most of this time, he's making eye contact with my brother and smiling, not even watching the game. He's not talking to us, just staring and smiling. He has a long, thin brown and silver hair, pulled back in a loose ponytail at the base of his skull, and a camo trucker hat and a long scraggly beard. I remember vividly the way he smelled: stale beer, ashtray, and something that smelled like a sweet yet sour dirt or fungus. He tried making small talk with my brother and I, who were raised to be aware of strangers, but still be polite. Eventually, we got bored of the game that we were playing, and I ushered my brother to follow me to a new game, which was located on the opposite side of the arcade. A few seconds later, the man follows us, stationing himself once again at the claw machine next to us. At some point, an overweight lady walks in and says to the hillbilly, "What are you doing to these little kids?" and snickers at me. he replies, "I'm trying to win them some stuffed animals." And she then begins playing the claw on the other side of us, so that my brother and I are sandwiched between these two strange hillbillies. His comment comes across as weird to me, because previously, I thought he was maybe trying to win something for his kids, but this entire time, he'd just been following my brother and I from game to game, trying to win us toys. This has been going on for maybe 20 minutes at this point. They've followed us to several different machines and spend a lot of money each time that my brother and I switch machines. They would follow us. The hillbilly says to the lady, "I'm out of money. You got any?" She says, "Nah, I'm broke too." And my brother says, "I have $1 still." Now, this is the part that really scared me. I remember listening to these two talk about some weird things with us, asking if I have a boyfriend, asking where we go to school, where our parents work, and asking if we've ever done drugs and etc. But when my brother said that he had $1, she responded with the most terrifying thing that I'd heard from them yet. The woman suddenly burst out, "Well, shit, then give it to him, boy." Her face was red, and the tone in which she shouted was so ear-piercing and gut-wrenching that I could feel the blood drain from my face. My brother looked like he was about to cry, and he hands her the $1. And her face lights up. She laughs it off, almost like she's trying to make it seem like she was joking when she just yelled at us. My father walks up a couple minutes later, and as I turn to tell him that these people have spent close to $15 to win toys for us, they leave hurriedly before he gets a good look at them. My dad is livid. He takes us up to the front desk and tells them what I told him. They make an announcement on the intercom to keep an eye out for these people and to report if they see them. Then they call the police. I don't actually remember this part or much of anything after my father arrives, but this is what he told me. They never did find the couple. The police reviewed security cameras, but it was too blurry to make out any physical details. And they told my parents that the couple left the store immediately after my father showed up, without any groceries. Every time I see a man or woman in Walmart that looks as I remember them, I get anxiety and I try to avoid them. So, to the hillbilly couple lurking in Walmart, I hope to never, ever meet you again. Story submitted by Nino. This true scary workplace story occurred in the autumn of 2012 in Glasgow, Scotland. The light was fading as it was the evening, and Glasgow gets very cold at this time of the year, so there was a bitter chill in the air. At around 6 p.m., my two friends, Neelam and Ayesha, who were both in their early 20s at that time, worked as beauticians in a beauty salon in the West End area of the city, and were just closing up for the evening, when a group of 3 fairly large men wearing ski masks aggressively pushed the door open and barged into the salon store front. They were carrying blue plastic shopping bags that were bulging. The men then closed the large front shutter down and had Neelam and Ayesha trapped in the store. Both of my friends were a bit stunned and didn't know what to do or say. The men began screaming and asking where the female owner of the salon was, to which they both shakily replied that they didn't know, which was true, as the owner was hardly ever there in person. The men had very thick Glaswegian accents, and it seemed as though they were white. However, the girls were not certain about this. And although both the girls were scared, they thought the men seemed fairly amateurish, and thought that they would just leave after realizing that the owner was not there. Things took a much more sinister turn, however, when suddenly the three men pulled out hammers and silver duct tape. The men then marched Nilo and Aisha to the back area of the salon, where they bound their hands and feet and wrapped their mouth up with duct tape. They were forced to sit on chairs with wheels on them and were taped to the chairs. The thugs then debated on what to do next. Wait on the off chance that the owner would come in or leave. The girls were obviously petrified at this point and were hoping that they would just leave. Neelam was especially scared as she actually had a cold at that time and was struggling with a tape that was now sealing her mouth. Her glasses also slid off of her face as she was struggling, so she was now also struggling to see. She tried to say to the men if they could take the tape off of her mouth because of her cold, but she was only able to mumble as her mouth was taped very tightly. One of the men yelled at her to shut up, and she tried her best not to cry, as that would have made things even worse. Aisha was still very shocked by everything, but was mainly concerned for Neelam and was just praying that the thugs would just go away. She also tried to speak, but to no avail. Thankfully, a few minutes of looking at the girls and around the salon, they decided to just exit the salon's front door, but not before smashing the cash register and some mirrors with their hammers. They also threw some of the salon's equipment across the store. Surprisingly, the men didn't actually steal anything from the store. They then left the salon and left Neelam and Aisha taped up and gagged out back. The girls struggled for quite a while to free themselves from the tape, but Aisha moved her chair towards some hairdressing equipment and eventually managed to use a pair of scissors to free her hands and feet and then remove the duct tape from her and Neelam's mouth. As soon as Neelam was freed, they called the police. The police finally arrived and gave the girls some blankets and took them to ask questions. The whole incident only lasted for about 20 minutes, although it felt much longer. Thankfully, the girls were not hurt. However, they were both very shaken for a long time after this, and the men were never caught as far as they are aware. Both Neelam and Aisha attended identified lineups. However, they could never say if any of the men they saw were any of the thugs because the trio had ski masks on. Both Neelam and Aisha are of South Asian, Pakistani ancestry, and Aisha did think one of the men did say something in Urdu at one point, but was not 100% sure. Both of my friends quit the salon immediately following this and got jobs elsewhere and are both doing extremely well now and have put this awful incident behind them. They never did find out what those men wanted with the owner, and they are grateful that she wasn't there, as things could have been much worse. They of course had their suspicions about the owner after this horrible incident, but they were both just thankful to be okay and away from that salon forever. And now, they are both doing very well and are happy with their lives. And here are the top comments from my last video. And here's the riddle for this video. Hello everyone, it's your creepy sister here. Thank you so much for watching the video. I really appreciate each and every one of you. But I would also like to thank my amazing patrons, my top tippers, and my dearest channel members. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it with all of my heart. If you want to support the channel further, you could also choose to become a patron, a tipper, or a channel member. But remember, it's appreciated, but never a requirement. I would also like to announce that we have merch now. The link is in the description of the video, along with all my other social media links, like my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, and others. You can connect with me and send your stories there. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and comments are highly appreciated. And remember, your fear feeds me.